speaker is Marc Morial, whom I can't thank enough for coming to Memphis during this tumultuous time in our country and in our city and just worldwide. And I can't say also enough how much I appreciate and value. And I'm going to say what I want to say. This black man, he's 200% black, y'all. I'm just like, he's a strong leader, and I can follow strong leaders any day, 24/7. He one of them. He falls in that category. I'm so grateful and appreciative of being under his leadership. I mean, I'll follow a strong black man. I'm just going to tell y'all that right now. So anyway, let me go on and talk about Marc. He's entrepreneur, lawyer, professor, legislator, mayor, president, U.S. Conference of Mayors, CEO of the National Urban League, the nation's largest civil rights organization, and a distinguished professional career that has spanned more than 25 years. He started when he was like 5. Okay, so Marc has performed all of these roles with excellence and is one of the most accomplished servant leaders in the nation. He was elected mayor of New Orleans in 1994, serving 2 terms, and left office with a 70% approval rating, which is very good for elected officials. He has been recognized as one of the 100 most influential Black Americans by Ebony Magazine, as well as one of the top 50 nonprofit executives by the Nonprofit Times. Morial, a history, arts, music, and sports enthusiast, is a father and is married to broadcast journalist Michelle Miller. So, President Morial will be talking about, as I mentioned earlier, the state of Black America, which is the signature annual reporting of the National Urban League. Since his first appearance in 1976, under the stewardship of the late Mr. Vernon E. Jordan, the organization's Jordan was the 5th president. I put my glasses on, then I couldn't read. Okay, so he was the 5th president, and the state of Black America remains one of the most highly anticipated benchmarks and sources for thought leadership around racial equity in America across economics, employment, education, health, housing, criminal justice, and civic participation. I bring to you our president and Chief Executive Officer of the National Urban League, Marc Morial. He's going to address our democracy, which is under attack, the call, the crisis, the charge. President Morial.
I'm honored to be here, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out to support Gail and the rebuilding of the Memphis Urban League. Give her another round of applause, if you will. Let me begin by thanking and asking any board members of the Memphis Urban League, if you are here, if you would please stand at this time. I want to make sure that all of you are properly recognized because you are our chief volunteers. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Let's give them another real round of applause. And then there are the National Urban League Young Professionals in our YP chapter. I met the president, if she would stand, and any other young professionals who are with us today. And for the record, I still qualify as a young professional. Because it's all about attitude, right? It's all about attitude and swag, right? If you got it, you can be a YP. So one more time for our young professionals. Let me also take this moment, even as Gail did recognize some of our important Urban League leaders who are with us, to recognize Cheryl Jackson, a longtime friend, now serving in the private sector, but served ably as the president of the Chicago Urban League for many years. Thank you, Cheryl, for being here. Let's give her a round of applause. And to Tamika Hart, who has worn many hats in this community, but also served as president of the Memphis Urban League. Let's give Tamika a nice warm round of applause. And then our friend and brother Clifton Harris from out east in that other city in Tennessee, Nashville. And thank you for coming, Clifton. And for the record, I want to see all of y'all in Nashville next summer because we're bringing the National Urban League Conference to Nashville, Tennessee. And Mr. Mayor, we have slots available for Memphis in 29, 30, 31, 32. You pick it, and we'll make it happen. So we look forward to, of course, being in Nashville. And then many of you are elected officials and appointed officials in the government. I'm a recovering politician, as you know. Let me ask all the electeds to please stand one more time. The elected officials who are with us today, thank you all very, very much for all of your service. And certainly Mayor Young and Mayor Harris, Paul Young and Lee Harris, I want to especially acknowledge them in their work because being a publicly elected chief executive officer is a very hard job. Looks like a lot of show, looks like a lot of celebrity, but it is a very hard job, particularly in these times. If you would give them another round of applause. And then Gail once again. So the National Urban League is both a national and a local organization. Our local footprint operates through our affiliates. We have 93 affiliates, including 4 here in the state of Tennessee. Our local affiliate here in Memphis, going back many, many years, has always been a stalwart, a voice, a direct services provider. And what we're committed to under Gail's leadership is to build and rebuild the role of the Memphis Urban League. And I'm going to appeal to all of you personally to give of time and talent and treasure to assist us in doing that work. What distinguishes the Urban League from other civil rights organizations with whom we are in partnership and in family with is that we are a direct services provider. Job training, youth programs, and of course, and the like. And secondarily, we do our work primarily through a team of paid professionals, educators, social workers, people with degrees in public policy, supported by volunteers. So when our budgets are put together, we are primarily funding those paid professionals who do our work. And it is why time and time again, the National Urban League and its affiliates win awards for the service work that we do, because we can do it at a high level because of the quality of our team and indeed our staff. So Gail is leading that effort here in Memphis, and I want all of you to do everything you can. We are not in competition with any other civil rights or community-based organization. I reject the crab in the barrel mentality. I reject the circular firing squad attitude that sometimes, y'all know, permeates our communities. In this moment, we have no time for that. We have no time. Say no time. No time. We have no time for that. Because the hour and the time is a time where the storm clouds are on the horizon. We're here at this August Club, and 60 years ago, in 1965, a courageous battle was waged to enact the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And the Memphis Urban League met in 1965. It would not be in this place If the Memphis Urban League met in 1965 and decided to come over here for a sightseeing visit, they would have been put out. Any meeting that took place in this room would not look like this room. And if the elected officials of Memphis at that time had gathered, they would not look like the Memphis electeds of that time would not look like the Memphis electeds of this time. 60 years ago. Where we are today is we are in a state of emergency. 1 year ago, in mid-October, we were in the midst of a presidential election. Many Americans thought we were on the cusp of making history, that we would have an opportunity to elect the first woman and the first black woman to the presidency in American history. Instead, the winds of politics blew in another direction, and the 45th president was reinstalled as the 47th president. It gave new momentum, new energy to a movement that has been underway for many years. And that is a movement to repeal the civil rights gains of the 1950s and the 1960s. That movement has one front in the courts of the United States, where a Supreme Court has turned its back on civil rights and voting rights on a number of occasions in the last 15 years. That front, there's a front in the Congress of the United States where there's such arrogance and recalcitrance that in order to put more money in the hands of less than 1,000 people, that's how many billionaires live in the United States, 1,000. 900. They would gut health care for poor mothers, for senior citizens, for children with asthma. Cut health care, do it brazenly, and then posit a lie about waste, fraud, and abuse to support it. The progress of the civil rights era, which began in 1954 with the decision in Brown versus the Board of Education, which was powered through the March on Washington, the Civil Rights Act of '64, the Voting Rights Act of '65, the Johnson anti-poverty programs that powered through the 70s and the 80s and 90s as we saw an increase in elected officials who are black and Latino and Asian and women, so that the elected community looked more like the people they serve. Economic policies, Mr. Mayor, like the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Workforce Investment Program, the Empowerment Programs, infrastructure dollars that invested, not disinvested, in urban communities are now under vociferous attack. This is a state of emergency. And we can't sit here with pretty talk, happy talk, and just ignore what is going on. A good weather forecaster sees the weather on the horizon. A good weather forecaster sees the storm out in the Atlantic. A good weather forecaster understands what is coming and doesn't wait until it comes. This is where we are today. I don't like being in this place, and you don't like being in this place. I don't like the fact that we're dealing with this situation, but it is real. Before the ink was dry on the president's oath of office, he issued an executive order that launched a frontal attack on the Civil Rights Act. They called it an anti-diversity executive order. But what it really sought to do was to erase all the steps that had been made in the private sector for the last 60 years to level the playing field so that our children, children's children, and many of us would have access to these jobs. And then once again, it was supported by a smokescreen and a campaign of lies and deception. That somehow, when you level the playing field, it has nothing to do with merit. I submit to you that diversity, equity, and inclusion is all about merit. It is about giving everybody with merit a chance. Everybody with merit an opportunity for their resume to be read, to get the interview. Yesterday, I saw a note about a woman, a black woman, who took her resume on LinkedIn and changed her name to Emily and used an AI-generated photo. She changed nothing on her resume but her name and her photo. I'll call her Mary. Well, Mary, who was black, got called back 8% of the time, while Emily, who was white, got called back 67% of the time. The mere fact that visually they saw Emily and they didn't see Mary changed the chances of employment by a factor of 8 to 1. This is troubling, but it's real. This is troubling, but this is today. This is what the attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion is all about. And I wonder if others did that, if they see the same experience. When the mass layoffs of the Doge Dum-Dum Initiative took place, 300,000 hard-working American public servants who worked at agencies across the government found themselves out of work. Because we had made progress, and the federal government was first in implementing civil rights laws, a large number of those who were laid off were seasoned, experienced senior executives, including many, many African American women. If you combine that with the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is why in the month of March of this year, 300,000 black women found their ways to the unemployment lines. 300,000. Not because they didn't have merit, not because they were not qualified, not because they didn't do a good job, but simply because of a frontal attack on 70 years of progress. The unemployment numbers of just 2 months ago demonstrated that in this year alone, the black unemployment rate has gone up by almost 2%. 2024 was a year, Mr. Mayor, Gail and others, where we had the lowest black unemployment rate in modern American history. Now it is creeping all the way back up in just a few months, up to almost 2% higher than it was. I'm not giving a good news report because I have to tell the truth. I'm not giving a good news report because it would be completely disingenuous of me if I got up here and just celebrated the past without understanding the present that we face today. This is what we face. This is an orchestrated, organized, well-funded assault. Project 2025 was a master plan. It's a master plan to dismantle the civil rights era. It's a master plan to dismantle everything from the New Deal to the Great Society to Obamacare when it comes to the role of our national government. But what we must do in these times is rise to the occasion. Last night, I visited the National Civil Rights Museum and walked through the exhibits very carefully and very slowly. And one of the things that I grasped was the climate of fear and intimidation which existed in the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s. The White Citizens Councils, the Ku Klux Klan, the fear that many who thought that if they went to a civil rights rally, if they marched, they'd lose their employment, they'd lose their job. For leaders in places like Mississippi and Alabama, they were concerned about losing their lives. And some did in those difficult challenges. But guess what? They rose with courage. Somehow, some way, with no elected officials, with fewer resources than we have today, they mounted, executed the most successful non-violent revolution in world history. And that's what they did. And that's what that museum celebrates. And the reason why we have to pour that into our work today, the sense of courage, and that we have nothing to fear but fear itself, if we're going to push back on what we face in modern America today. We can't be in a pretend mode. This is an all-out assault. Think about the value proposition of spending $20 billion to bail out Argentina without a vote of the Congress, but cutting hundreds of billions from Medicaid. Think about a commitment, and I'm not going to make judgment on this, of $50 billion to rebuild Gaza, yet right here in Memphis, $1 billion would make a huge difference in the infrastructure of this city. You could create $21 billion empowerment zones for 20 American cities. This is a value proposition. What do we prioritize as a nation? And this is the discussion. This is the debate. This is the front upon which we must fight. Where is our value proposition? For our generation, and this is not just a generation of African Americans, because the civil rights movement opened doors for white women. It opened doors for Latinos. It created the blueprint for the LGBT community to wage their battles. The work that was done by King and Thurgood Marshall and the others, my predecessor, Whitney Young and others, was a blueprint for how to bring about social and economic change. And others have flattered us by following the script. Others have flattered us. It's like the first team in football ran the West Coast offense. Next thing you know, everybody had the West Coast offense. And so in that moment, it is why we must call on our allies to be fearless as well. We must call on our allies, because this debate is about what kind of America we want in the 21st century. What kind of America we want for our children and our children's children. That's what's at stake. That civil rights generation, they were sacrificers. They sacrificed for us. We got an opportunity. I think some of us, we went up the smooth side of the mountain. Our fathers and mothers went up the rocky side of the mountain. And I wonder, do we have what it takes in this moment? Do we have what it takes in this moment? Some of y'all live in some fancy houses. Some of y'all drove here in a sweet, fancy car. We have had an opportunity to have some material successes unthought of and unheard of, professional successes unthought of and heard of. But too many in our community remain locked in survival mode every single day, locked in a mode of just trying to get to the end of the week, to pay their bills, to take care of their children, many of us having to take care of senior parents. This is what we face. So this is going to be a moment, not just of policy and programs and initiatives. It's going to be a moment of whether we have the courage and the desire and the, if you know what I mean, to fight this battle and to fight it intelligently. Now let me give you, so next year, there's an election in America. Yesterday, the Supreme Court debated whether to overturn the Voting Rights Act. If this Supreme Court Judge Sugarman walks down that road, they will join the Dred Scott Court and the Plessy Court in one of the most absurd and obscene decisions in American history. Imagine that. How can you slap John Lewis, who got beat on that bridge in the face, and repeal the Voting Rights Act by judicial edict? By judicial edict. Not by a vote of the Congress, not by a vote of the people, but by judicial edict. 1 minute it's Roe, the next minute it's the Voting Rights Act. What are they going to try to do? Overturn the First Amendment to the Constitution and say no longer do we have freedom of speech and freedom of media and freedom of the press? See, this is a slippery slope, which is why you've got to put a pin in it and push back on it. Let me just also address, I think I have to, because I've addressed with the media, the National Guard and the militarization. So I want to say this is that the mayor has to deal with this in real time. I have to deal with it more from a broad policy perspective. And with my long history of being successful in reducing crime in a major American city. The National Guardsmen that I know and I talk to don't want this assignment. They are not prepared nor trained in crime prevention, in how to make arrests. They have no training whatsoever in any of this. This assignment is being put up on them against their good judgment, their better judgment, and their will. No adjutant general of the National Guard, no military expert, when asked about this in private and in candor, would endorse what is happening. That's number one. Number two, I question once again, how much money are we going to spend in deploying the National Guard, in placing them in hotels and paying per diems while they stage themselves in modern American cities? What is this going to cost? What's the fiscal note? And could those resources be spent more intelligently to provide to the Memphis police more investigators so that they could investigate murder, more community support programs, more mental health counselors, more support for the homeless, unhoused people on the street? See, things are about value propositions. When I served, President Clinton was in office. He was concerned about public safety in our cities. And the time Mayor Young then was far worse than now. You all have brought these numbers down. We were having, in New Orleans, 500 murders a year. But he called the mayors in. We sat in the cabinet room. I want to do some things. What do you think I can do to help you all? And from that, the Empowerment Zone program was birthed. From that, the Welfare to Work program was birthed. From that, a whole series of expanded funding for the Community Development Block Grant program was birthed. And over the next 4 to 5 years, crime came tumbling down. Cities came back. but it was because the leader of the country was prepared to respect local elected leaders who are on the ground and ask them for their opinion, as opposed to sitting at a resort in Florida or New Jersey and signing an order directing the military into our American cities. So that's my perspective on this. Every city's got to navigate its own politics, but my point of view is that this is not a smart policy, and we've got to be very aware that this may just be a test move for the next move, which be to send the Marines and the United States Army and the Green Berets to American cities. So we got to use our voices. We have to use our voices when it comes to this. If you want to do something for public safety, we got some ideas too. And our ideas are time-tested and evidence-proven. We got to engage in that kind of public discussion and public debate. So all of this fits a broader narrative of an assault. And what we're seeing today is something that is so politically driven. And it sets up a bad precedent in American politics. If the goal of the winner is to punish the people who didn't vote for them, where does this cycle end? And what kind of nation do we really have? Is it a democracy? Is it the rule of law? Or is it just catch and catch back? Almost like we're the Crips and the Bloods as an American. That's not the America I love. That's not the America I was raised to believe in. That's not the America of my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. That's not the land of the preamble to the Constitution, that we hold these truths, that all people are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That's not the America of the First Amendment, which gives us right to speech, right to assembly, the press, its freedoms, or the 14th Amendment, which guarantees us citizenship even if our forefathers and foremothers came here as chains and as property. That's not the America of the 15th Amendment, which guaranteed us the right to vote. So all of these norms, constitutional norms, American values, are being twisted and turned and pretzelized. This is what we're facing. So here's where the Urban League's call to action is. 3 things. Number 1, we must defend American democracy. For all of its imperfections, that means the right to vote. So what it means in a city like Memphis is when there's an election, we can't tolerate 35% voter turnout. These doors, wake our people up to use this right to vote. Voter suppression is awful. Self-suppression is a mortal sin. So we got to vote in every single election. I tell people, vote even if you got to vote for somebody you don't like, hold your nose. But maybe if you got to know him, you might like him. To become an educated voter. So we must defend democracy and all of its principles. Second thing we must do, we must demand diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is not about what you call it. It's about what it is. It's about equal access to jobs, to business opportunities, to colleges and universities, to housing in America. Not equal opportunity in words, but equal opportunity in action and in reality. I'm going to use the words diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some of my corporate friends say, well, I want to use DOI, I want to use EO. Just tell me what it is. All right? I don't want to know about the icing, I want to know about the cake.
Right.
And if the cake is correct, the icing can be blue, red, chocolate. It could be anything. In fact, it could be no icing. We got to demand diversity, equity, and inclusion because it's our birthright in this country to be treated fairly and equally. And the third thing in our call to action is we must defeat poverty. Now, poverty has a new face in America today. Do you realize that according to the most recent statistics, there are fewer middle-class Americans today than they were in 1971? What's the primary driver of economic pain that Americans are facing? Some people say eggs. Some people say bread. Some people say gas. And all of that creates additional pain. Let me tell you what it is. It's housing costs. It's housing costs. So housing costs, whether it's rent or mortgage, have increased 6 times faster than incomes since the year 2000. This is a 21st century problem created by a succession of presidential administrations that have failed to advance a comprehensive program to build more housing in America. Now I'll tell you what, Joe Biden tried. He had a $200 billion plan. It was in his first budget plan. It got blocked by Mr. from West Virginia, Manchin, and Ms. Sinema. They quietly told him they'd vote for no budget with this money in it. That's what's driving it. So when we say defeat poverty, the poverty of America today is not just the person who's in extreme poverty. It's not just the person who is there struggling. It is them. And we have to be absolutely concerned about this. But it is also people that have college degrees who are saddled with a burden of loans and expensive housing. Can't get an apartment, have to triple up and quadruple up. Got to go stay with mom and grandmama just to be able to make it. This is the hardcore, not just for black people, but for white people, Latinos, and everyone too. See, some of these issues impact us greatly, but they don't just impact us. That's right. But if you listen to some of these political, they're trying to create wedges on economic issues. For example, trying to suggest that Medicaid is a program for the unemployed. Trying to suggest that Medicaid is a program for those who are here without papers. Trying to suggest all of that once again, and I told you about the smoke screen and the campaign of lies about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is another campaign of lies being posited. And so in politics sometimes, if you just keep repeating a lie, people begin to believe it. Which is why we have to have our voices in the public square. Urban League, elected officials saying, no, by the way, this program impacts all Americans, right? This is where we are today. So I ask you to embrace this call to action. Because we must be clear not only what we're against, we got to be focused on what we are what? For. Yes. And defending democracy, demanding diversity, and defeating poverty is what we're for. We're going to talk about it, we're going to fight for it, and we're going to work. And fight is the word we must use. See, this is a moment when we're going to be asked, your children, your grandchildren, the next generation is going to ask, where did you stand? That's right. When the storm clouds blew in, where did you stand? When the hurricane threatened to wipe out the gains, what did you do? Did you sleep? Did you pretend to be a modern day Rip Van Winkle and say, maybe I'll go to sleep for 25 years and I'll wake up and this will go away? Or will we fight So whether you're inside of corporate America, whether you're inside of political office, whether you are in a nonprofit, no matter where you are, there is a role for you to play. And I'm appealing you to do this. So let's fight and fight and fight till hell freezes over, and then let's fight on the ice. For the record, my name is Marc Morial. I'm president of the National Urban League, and I authorize this message.